Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live,
Let Thrive.
What's up, Myka? Man,
I'm chilling, Stevie Stacks. How you doing on this beautiful Monday?
it is a beautiful Monday. It's like, regular temperatures again, 70s, 80s. Oh man, I'm loving it, man. It's such a drain. That summer was so brutal here in Texas. Probably most of the country, except for a few outliers, got a break from the summer, but it was pretty brutal. But temperatures are back. LLT is back. We're coming at you with the brand new show on this episode 271 of your favorite short-term, mid-term, long-term Airbnb, VRBO, all that share economy stuff, fun podcast in the world, coming at you from Fort Worth in Arlington, Texas.
Let's go, man. We got another exciting episode coming at you. What episode number is this?
271, baby. 271 freaking episodes we've done this, which is over 271 hours, because some of them run longer than that. So we're probably looking around close to 300 hours of stuff.
Easily.
Episodes that have gotten lost in the shuffle. I mean, we've been at this for a while, dude, since 2017.
6 years, and we're still going strong, man. So what's new in your STR world, bro?
And we're still learning, right?
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, if you don't learn, you die, right? Is that what they say?
Straight up. You have to learn in this industry.
Something like that. What's up on my end? It's kind of off topic, but everything that's off topic on this show is kind of on topic too, because I was listening to, listen to Audible, right? I like listen to Audible. I get my books on there, do what I do. But there's this Audible Originals, and this one is Snoop Dogg, From the Streets to the Suites. I like listening to, motivational things, like people that are successful at whatever field, right? And one thing, it blew my mind. I mean, you didn't know this, that all successful people have in common is they work their ass off. Bet you didn't know that.
Some of them do.
You could buy a course and in 90 days become rich, like on the, they're offering on Facebook and Instagram. You can get one of those courses and in 90 days you'll be a millionaire, right? Or that don't work. Do it the old-fashioned way. Work your ass off and become successful. And what was cool about, I won't go too far into the Snoop thing. It's cool because he tells his story on this thing. Audible, you get sign up for free and stuff, and then books cost whatever credits, but like their original stuff is free and stuff. So one of the cool things about his story, he had different phases, right? His early phases when he was just learning to rap, and then he was doing the rap battles, and then coming up with Dre and all that, and then the gangster rap. And then he started going real into that, and the it took did the whole murder trial thing. I mean, he went through his whole life story. I mean, he went to ups and downs and all this stuff, and he touched on something that you would like, the Master P days, because after he left Death Row, he went to Master P and just tells his stories, on different Death Row, Master P, then just Doggy Style, his own record, and then he eventually buys, Death Row back, that's pretty awesome too. But one thing that stood out, of so many things that stood out, right, is that Master P, he taught him the business side of being a performer, being a rapper, being a performer, because he didn't know nothing about copywriting things, merchandising. He didn't know nothing about branding. He didn't know, he was giving away all this stuff for free, right? And Master P taught him how to do it and taught him how to really, really become successful on the business side. And that was pretty neat, because he had all these mentors growing up, how to bust your ass and how to rap and how to, make hit songs. But it took someone to teach him the business side, a business mentor. We have different mentors in our lives, and Master P was his business mentor.
There you go. You just said the one thing all success people have in common: a good mentor. Yeah, man, that's really Master P is actually one of my favorites. And Snoop is actually a testimony of why I've always liked Master P and his business sentiment. Like, he knew, hey, you have to, you got to, what I'm saying? Because Master P kind of looked at things in a different light, and it kind of opened Snoop's eyes. You know what I mean? Like, he told Snoop, why are you making all this rap music, making diss records? He goes, who's getting paid off that? We don't make money off that. You're getting paid to promote violence towards your own people because, you know, he saved Snoop's life at the end. I don't know if did you touch on the story when
I
Snoop
haven't got to that part yet. I haven't got to that part yet.
Oh, man. I'll let you, well, no, this ain't even, I don't even know if it's a book. Save it.
Go ahead. No, go say it.
Oh, Snoop said Master P saved my life because I didn't know business, how he knew business. Basically, he told him he was about to make, before he went to No Limit, he was about to make this track called F Death Row. That's the biggest key to what you just said. He was about to say, and Snoop was like, and P was like, nah, don't do that. He was like, it's just stupid. He goes, you have all this stuff built up. He goes, you can build yourself up, be above that. He goes, be someone that wants to bring people together. He said he didn't make the album. He ends up Master P becomes his mentor. He learns all this stuff. He learns how to own a record company, how to make money off of it. And what did you just say? He ended up buying Death Row Records.
Death Row all these years later.
Years later he bought it, but he told him, because Snoop told him, he said, man, I didn't understand at first what he was teaching me. He goes, because he moved him, and this is why I always tell people too, and this is going to be really business minded, to really expand your mind, move away from where you're from, like at a very young age. And that's what Master P did to Snoop. He moved him out of LA. He moved him to New Orleans. He was moving to New Orleans, get you out of LA, rebrand yourself. We're going to help you rebrand yourself, get you up out of LA. And now he's back in LA, but he's a rebranded Snoop Dogg. He's the smoke weed Snoop, you know what I mean? That type of Snoop. And he's the cool, laid back Uncle Snoop everybody loves, but he had to go through a rebranded phase, man. And, you know, being able to, the most important thing about any type of great type of business person, you have to be a great listener. And because Master P, he's one of my favorites. I always listen to stuff. I watched his documentary, the whole, man, how he changed the rap industry, took the 85. He told the record companies, you take 15%. I do the 85 because I'm doing all the work. You just do 15% and you do my distribution. That was like the smartest thing ever, man. Like, you know, I think he had to pay Michael Jackson's lawyer to learn that. So, you know, he was willing to do that, you know? So yeah, man, it's a lot of good gems, especially if you listen to a lot of Master P, you learn a lot of good business gems and just like ways to conduct yourself, man, for real.
Man, it's so good. And what I like about it too, because not to go too far into it, but it shows his creative process and like how he's writing these songs and with his inspiration, you know. And I don't know, but it just like you said, he really hit it off when he's more not you know, these diss songs or you know, F them, F that, you know. He really he celebrated his mentors from both sides, from East Coast, West Coast, all, you know, all his you know, inspirations, and everybody loves Snoop. Everybody loves Snoop.
Man.
He kicks it with Willie Nelson and shit.
Yeah, everybody loves Snoop, man.
But anyways, yeah, so that's something I've been driving on. I love listening to stories of successful people, inspirational people. And so what do you want to dive into today, man? I got a few notes.
Well, you can actually go off the back of that, man. In business, man, you always have to learn and you always have to have a mentor. And I think that's where the short-term rental side is right now. It's really big on like having a good, or not even just having a mentor, but having like strong people around you who are always doing the business, that are in the business. Because, man, things are changing rapidly. As you may know, you know, I know Mike's in the chat because he's been loving what's going on in Dallas. Because, you know, we've been these last few weeks, man, it's been going crazy in Dallas, and it's only October, you know. And the full ban doesn't go into effect till December, but like the short-term rental side's been really hitting it because ain't too many places available, you know, because people are starting to shut down, close up shop. So it's a lot going on in a positive direction in Dallas. And this is like what I've always told people, our listeners, regulations are sometimes cool. Because, you know, it may put some people out of business, but if you set yourself up correctly, you should be able to still operate, you know, by diversifying your portfolio. But yeah, that's just, you know, that's what I've been really going in on. But yeah, man, how's things in your world?
Busy, man. And you know, I wanted to touch on this a little bit. Like, if you're running, you know, have your own business, stuff like that, you know, just to keep it real, I sometimes have these little mini panic attacks. You know, I haven't had a full out like the world is gonna end, but sometimes I just like be freaking out, like, how am I gonna make this work? You know, how am I gonna make this work? back of my mind, I'm like, dude, you always figure out a way to make this work. It's just one of my superpowers. But when you're in the mess and you're like, how am I going to make this work? Money in is taking a little longer than the money out, kind of put yourself in some rough spots. Sometimes that's business. And you got to worry about debts, and you got to worry about, there's so much to worry about, especially if you have, a shit ton of units. But so many panic attacks I think it's common. I think that, they say there's good stress and bad stress. Whenever I get these little panic attacks when things ain't working out perfect, when I'm like, oh crap, what's gonna happen? First of the month's coming or whatever. And we're in the first of the month right now. Those first of the month's a little rough for business people. I'm gonna say it anyways on my end. Maybe it's smooth for you, but a lot of business people, that's that's when the money in, money out's happening. And so when these attacks, like freak out moments, or I'm just staring off into space and my wife's like, you all right? I'm just thinking, I got a lot on my mind. I always like, man, the people that have it just a regular 9 to 5, clock in, clock out, and go about their life and do their thing and live for the weekends and stuff like that. I'm like, I always think, man, the grass is always greener. I'm like, that must be like the best way to live. That must be the easiest way to live, and they must be happier because of that. But then I really stop and go, man, I did live that life for a long time, the 9 to 5, relying on a job, and then when the job's going smooth, okay, it's not a bad life, right? If you got a nice job, dream job, whatever. But as soon as you get an asshole manager in place, or you get someone, some crap goes down at work, or they change some systems, they want you to work weekends, or they do all, they own you in a way. Yeah, you get that, you don't have as much stress as being your own boss, right? But you're relying on this business to keep it cool, keep your life in order for you. And then, hey, that job could actually go away too. So it's not like, I always think about that. I'm like, it's not 100% perfect solution. I'm just gonna unplug my brain and just go to work 9 to 5 every day and let them handle everything. And I'm not even gonna think about doing my own thing, starting my own business, doing my own investments or real estate or nothing. I think it's worth it. And one of the main reasons I think it's worth it is because it gets me up in the mornings. And I think it's very important to have like a purpose and something that'll get you up in the morning at 4 or 5 in the morning, and you wake up, you're a little tired, you're groggy, but oh man, I can't wait to hit that first cup of coffee and dive into this shit. And that's what I like to ask people, what gets you up in the mornings?
Man, what gets me up in the morning? No, mine is I'm reading this actually. I first thing I do in the morning is I always read 10 pages out of a book. And then after I read the 10 pages, I journal. So I know what gets me up in the morning is routine, just habit. I'm really reading this really good book. It's actually touching on a little bit of the stuff you're talking about. Is what gets you up in the morning it's called The Power of Habit. And it's like all these successful people and how they get there. And it's through these small habits. Like he talks about how Michael Phelps' habit, how he got to, the greatest Olympian of all time. The habits of all these business owners and these CEOs and how they get there. But what gets me up in the morning is I like reading my 10 pages, and then I like journaling. One good thing, because you were talking about, you were like, there's this book called The Gap and the Gain, and how you were just explaining your situation. You went into the gap, but you pulled yourself out by going into the gain. You were like, I'm looking at these people with these 9 to 5, y'all must be easy. But then you pulled yourself out like, dang, I've been there before. I know what it's like to only depend on that, and then you're like, I've grown and I have more now, just that feeling of knowing your end goal. My end goal is what gets me up though. Like having the habit of, I know these habits are going to get me to my end goal. That's what gets me up and keeps me going. One thing I always tell you is keep your goals right in front of you. You can see my goals right behind me. If you keep that in front of you and you know your end goal, it'll help you to not fall into that slump, because we always fall into slumps. Like you say, it's the first of the month, money in, money out. You look at that big chunk of change sitting there at the end of the month, like, dang, I wish all this was mine, so, but it got to go out. If sometimes you might go in the negative if it's an ugly month with the arbitrages, so, and that's one thing. And I'm going to kind of turn it into, that's one thing about going into portfolio diversification, but I'll go into that a little bit later. But you said you have many panic attacks. That happens to all business owners, man. You're like, dang, this is coming up. This is coming up. But what I always try to focus on, okay, I'm having this mini panic attack. One, you always know you're going to get through it. But what do you do in that moment to calm yourself down is the biggest thing. What do you do in those moments?
Take a big shot of whiskey. I'm just kidding. That's the wrong way to cope. Sometimes I just sit with it and I breathe and I just, and I remind myself, you always pull yourself through this. This isn't, and then I'm like, man, there's so many people, it sucks to think of people that are worse off than you, but it also helps in a way because I'm like, what am I complaining about? It's not working out perfect like it's supposed to, like it should have, whatever. But I got a roof over my head. I got a family. We're all healthy. I got the bills paid. And I always think this too. What's the worst that could possibly happen? I go fucking bankrupt and I still get to keep my house and my cars and my family, and then we just move on with it. And I've known there's so many millionaires. I'm not saying I'm going to go bankrupt. I do not want to go bankrupt. I'm just saying, you think of worst case scenarios, right? In business. And the worst case scenario is your business goes bankrupt and you move on. I mean, okay, fuck it. There's so many millionaires that have done that. How many times has Trump gone bankrupt? I mean, it's so many millionaires, billionaires that have gone bankrupt. It's not even like the biggest thing, the biggest fear, whatever. But I just remind myself how good we do have it, how fortunate we are, and it helps a little bit, in the moment you're panicking, you don't want to think about shit like that. But I remind myself, dude, you're good. You got all your extremities, you got all your hands, your feet, you're walking good, your family's good, and you got a place to live, and you got a vehicle, and so I just think of stuff like that, and it kind of helps.
It does, because what you're doing is you're showing gratitude. In order to get a lot back for yourself, you have to be grateful for what you have. If you're not grateful for what you have, more stuff isn't going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? Abundance comes when you're grateful for what you have right now. So you always have to be, you always have to appreciate the moment, appreciate what you do have. Because if you really look at it, if you look at what you do have, it's somebody out there that probably ain't got 3/4 of it. And you're like, damn, and I'm tripping about this. And it's funny is you're really complaining about all this stuff that you got. But at one point, if you think back, this is all the stuff you wanted. And it's happening. You're like, shit. Yeah, man. It's everything you wanted. And then you get it. It's like, damn. You got to be ready for that stress. That's why gratitude is the biggest thing. You have to be thankful. Like I write down the smallest stuff. Like in the morning, I'll just say like, I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful to have a roof over my head. Small stuff like that people don't even have, but you'll be grateful for it, man. A lot more stuff starts coming to you, man. It does. And then you just have to learn how to deal with that stress, Now I'm going to really go into the deeper side is how do we deal with that stress to make our businesses more efficient? What are some ways if you see like, hey, I'm going to be a little short this month on my arbitrage money. What are some things that you put in place to be like, okay, next month or the next 3 months, we're going to be better? What do you do in that situation?
Like learning from mistakes, overextending yourself. That's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one. Because you go start chasing after every shiny object, you spread yourself too thin, big time, man. It's hard to pull back. It's hard to say, okay, we're at a good spot. Let's pay off these furnitures. Let's pay off these things, and let's start getting it where we're at the profit point instead of having all these different lines of credit open, all these different, furniture stores we're paying or whoever, and then keep adding more to it. It's so hard to say no and like kind of let your business catch up to where you're pulling it. You know what I'm saying? Because you could just keep going and going, and your business would just keep, trying to keep up and just, fall into the wayside. But if you got to like slow down, it's a marathon, right? And you're jogging with your team. You can't just outsprint your other guys and then just leave them behind, right? You gotta get a good pace with them. And so you gotta let your business catch up sometimes and get some of those bills paid off, get some of those debts paid off, and then get to another point where you can make another move that I wouldn't say puts too much stress on your business. A little stress is good, you know. You got a point because that helps growth also when you take a chance here and there, right? But if you take too many chances at once, it could get into a bad spot really quickly.
Yeah, because that, man, I'm gonna be real with you. I've been in months. You know, you may take a loss because it's some units. One thing I do is I always like to go through my units and see what's my best performing unit, and if things don't match this, how do I get rid of the rest of them, the ones that don't perform, right? And it's also about kind of like I talk about portfolio diversification a lot, and that's why I like the management play. I like managing and owning. I'm very big on owning. Like right now, one good thing about owning, I'll give you an example. We just had an insurance overage on one of our properties, right? And they mailed us a $6,000 check, and our monthly payment went back down by $600 on that's property insurance, taxes, all that. I'm like, that'll never happen on arbitrage, right? So I'm like, well, damn, let me see if I can diversify, because I was about to get rid of these 5 units in Dallas. I'm like, man, I'm just kind of get rid of these units. These units just ain't doing it for me. But then like this wave hit right when I'm about to hop out of these units, but this wave hit of all these people shutting down units, right? So I'm like, okay, well, let me hold on to these. They're going to be worth it. So I think always analyzing your portfolio, finding where's your hole in your purse, and then kind of being cognizant of that and knowing how do you start patching up that hole, because I think that's where a lot of people, especially because you said it on the head, you hit it on the head. You're like, these rents are due. So I'm like, it's the arbitrage game that's pulling that money out. Now you're probably using some of your management money to cover the rent. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, dang, it's just like the hole's getting bigger. So, it's just, I always look at it as portfolio diversification, man. Don't be afraid to cut off bad units, trying to hold on to something and make something out of nothing. You know what I mean? Always be very cognizant of that. This is for all the listeners out there, especially when you start getting to the arbitrage game, because it has been sold as it's gold. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is the thing to do. And it has months, I was talking to a friend up in Chicago. He said, man, thing about arbitrage is you can be rich one month and poor the next, because just how the fluctuation of it is. While on management, you may not make a bigger cut, but if you're a really good manager, you can make your owner profitable. You might not make a bigger cut, but you don't have that stress on your hands, And that's why I like the properties that I manage and the properties I own, because it's very controlled expenses, man. And if something go right, I'm not paying inflated rent, So that's my take on it.
That's so true, the diversification part, because and me and you, we're pretty much, I think, similarly diversified, because we do a lot of management, right? And then we do a lot of arbitrages, and then we own some properties, and those are the ones that are like the long-term, regular rentals that just pay out every month. No big headaches there, right? Except for this summer when every AC went out, but that's a different story.
Damn,
that's a different story. We got through that storm. We'll see what the winter brings. But anyways, so yeah, there are the different levels of diversification, and they all have, they're kind of synergetic in a way, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's the same kind of industry, rental properties. And so I do. I'll do numbers sometimes, and you could do numbers in different ways to tell you different information. And what I liked, I was like, all right, cool. I was tripping over payroll. I was able to get it reduced, and I told you how I did that, because I got my lead manager. I convinced her to start her own business within my business. So I'm dealing with her now, and she's kind of took over them as her employees, and I'm paying one person, and I reduced payroll by like $2,000 a month, which is good. Yeah. So I'm happy about that. And I was looking of our management clients, just our management clients, I'm looking about, so our our whole portfolio is a mix of arbitrage and management. And I was like, our management clients pay for and then some all of our labor. So after that point, and I'm thinking after that point, it's all kind of like I'm getting all my units, managed for free. You know what I'm saying? And I look at it like that. I'm looking at what part of your business is paying for all of your labor or all of your expenses, and then what other parts of your business benefit from that.
Yeah.
And so that helps when you sit down and do the numbers. You sit down with a pen and paper. That's a powerful thing. Putting it down, because if it's all swimming around in your head, it'll wear you out, dude. You sit down with a pen and paper, figure things out, write it all out, and then it helps you make sense of things more.
No, I love that, because I tell people if it ain't I don't own a pen and pad, it don't exist at this point, because it's just you have to put it on a pen, paper. I use spreadsheets, whatever it is. If you can get your thoughts out of your mind and onto paper, that is huge, because that's where your anxiety comes from. Really, that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is a good thing. I tell people that anxiety comes from when you have options. Hopelessness comes from when you have no options. So it's good to have anxiety because you have options. You have solutions up there. You just have to put them on paper. But yeah, cutting business expenses is huge. I went through and cut a few things. I think I'm about to cut Tidio, which is my website automated bot, because I'm like, I don't really need it anymore. And because I went through and calculated, okay, how many leads is it giving me and how many of those leads book? Because you have to start looking at stuff like that too. And I'm like, because most of my leads are now coming through emails. I'm like, well, hell, we don't need to be wasting time on this bot, So it's about finding those small holes. Like you said, hey man, I found that the management side's taking care of, some of the you said your labor expenses, and then you cut your expenses on your VAs. That's really good, because that's what you have to do. Could just keep on running and building up debt. And you have to know, like, what's your risk tolerance on debt? I did that too. And I'm like, okay, I can't just be taking out any more debt. I have to get out of my business debt, which is I'm working on, but I have really good long-term business debt that I'm not mad about. So it'll be a long time before I have to worry about anything on that end. But those credit cards, paying furniture companies. And that's one of the things I know now people are really getting into is, renting furniture. And that's why I always said, if you rent furniture, man, that's like an extended cost to me. I haven't done it yet, but I don't know. Have you hopped into that game yet?
No, Mike Brown's big on that. He likes that. Yeah. And I see an argument for it. If you see it as a $200 a month or $300 a month, whatever it is, line item expense, you're renting the furniture, and then after 3 years you own it. It's kind of like a rent to own model in a way.
Yeah.
That might make sense, instead of being upfront and having to pay $10,000 or $20,000, to furnish a place, and putting that on a credit card or putting that on a financing plan and stuff, like paying interest on it. And then, okay, hey, you got all that furniture now, and then after a year, that place didn't do enough for you. You want to hop out. Now you got to deal with all that furniture. That kind of sucks too. Whereas if you rented it, you just call them up, hey, come get your shit, and they'll come get it, right? And they'll take it away.
Yeah,
because that's a stressful thing, man. Especially when you get a bunch of arbitrages, is dealing with all that freaking furniture.
And funny thing you say that. Because one reason why I'm kind of sitting back on the sidelines and really only focusing on like picking up managed units and I'm going to be buying is because what I'm doing right now is I'm just using my business to bootstrap a bunch of cash. Because I'm trying to get to a point where I can just have a bunch of cash so I can start intelligently deploying it, right? So sometimes it's good to sit on, I got this quote from Mike's friend, Orlando Minor. He loves that guy. Doom and gloom, as you call him. Yeah. But no, he said sometimes it's good to sit on the sideline with a plan. So I'm kind of like sitting on the sideline and being very strategic on what I pick up. So then I can pick up stuff that's going to be well worth it in the business. You know what I mean? Like I'll pick up a management unit here. I'll see if I can see, because my whole goal is to own. So I'm like seeing if, okay, can I do a sub 2 deal? And can I BRRRR this property? So I'm always looking at deals that I can get in strategically and get my money back at very low cost. And then, go from that way. But I am kind of sitting on the sideline, strapping up cash while I'm like strategically looking for good opportunities. Because it's stressful picking to, just going. And then when a few bad months hit, you're like, oh shit, I got all this debt. That's when it starts coming down on you. Oh shit, I got this much debt going on. Instead of, being upfront with it, knowing how much debt you have and if it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a lot of people say, you know, the big arbitrage gurus out there, you know, we know the biggest of the biggest, but they always say, yeah, it's great because you can get into a place and you don't have any debt and you get you an arbitrage and you start making money. To me, that's kind of misleading because to me, the first of the month and they're saying, you know, you owe them $1,900 or $2,000, whatever, to rent this place. To me, that's debt. To me, that's debt because you have to pay that shit, right? First of the month hit, even if you didn't make no money that month, you still got to pay that. Just like a credit card. It don't matter if they cut your hours at work, you still got to pay that credit card bill, right? But even worse with arbitrage, they could evict your ass and then screw up your credit and then ruin your credit, and then you can't go and buy houses and buy cars for investments in the future because your credit's jacked up because you went and did an arbitrage.
You don't want to be putting stuff in your personal name. If you're doing
yes.
it correctly, yeah, don't do
If
that.
you're doing it,
yeah. If you're putting it in your name, yeah, you can definitely screw up because you just talked about earlier about filing bankruptcy. You'd be putting yourself in the same situation unless you're doing it incorrectly. So yeah, go ahead.
And how many? What would you guess the percentage of all these arbitragers out here are doing it correctly? What's the percentage that they are actually doing it correctly? I would say it's very low. The ones I've talked to, they're trying to unload properties on me. They've all had them in their names. I haven't heard one saying it was in their LLC.
I think it's very low, and I think that's about to change. See, I think, and I'm happy you brought that up because I think that's why Dallas is shifting right now. I think Dallas is shifting. So, like, the people who ain't doing it right, they're like, damn, I'm effed, and they hopping up out of there. It's just like last week when I told you I'm about to send this. I'm not going to send an eviction letter, but I'm about to send this very upfront mafia type letter to this people who are operating in my building. I'm like, look, we own the majority stake in the building. You can give me your unit and I'll pay you off for it. I'll give you however much. I'm not going to give you a lot for it, but I'm going to pay you off for it. If you don't get out, I'll just be talking to management about getting you out because I know you ain't registered because our units are registered and yours ain't. And I will. For real.
Make them an offer they can't refuse.
There you go. Basically coming at you like a godfather. But, you know, just that type of, you know, operating like that, because those people who are operating incorrectly, it's gonna come back to bite them in Dallas. You know, it's coming. You know, and even the people who got a whole bunch of arbitrages in a building that's now capped at 3%. You know, you got to hop out. Now you got to lower your portfolio. You know, but even if you are in a building where you have a bunch, but you got to lower to 3%, at least you have that option to do that. And you can go maybe start somewhere else. Like I was saying last week, going straight up to the apartment complexes and saying, hey, you can now barter with the complexes. Like, hey, anybody that comes to you that wants to be in your building, I have to manage. My company has to management. I'm viable. I've been doing it. Or I'll bring my own units. So it's multiple ways to get to skin it.
We'll see how that whole 3% rule shakes out, man. It's so many things up in the air.
That one has been shaking out pretty good because I told you they knocked on our door. So
they knocked on that apartment door. I know, but yeah. Anyways, we can go on and on about that, but I don't know. We'll see how they're gonna handle it when there's a freaking thousands of these things. They gotta go in there and they can't even solve these murders going on in Dallas. Anyways, enough about that. What I was gonna say something, man. And speaking of arbitrage, right? And I have probably like you a love-hate relationship with arbitrage. Was that fair to say? A love-hate relationship?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you still do it. I mean, you still do it. If you hated it, you would just get rid of them all, right?
I was this close. Oh man, I was this close. But yeah, go ahead.
Because I mean, I remember back you talked a long time ago, many episodes ago, about how you were hopping out of the arbitrage game in Dallas. This was years ago. Mm-hmm. But then more deals came and you got back in. You know, you just kind of like it's hard. It's so hard to stay away from something that we see as it could be very profitable, right?
Yeah.
And so I was, you know, like I said, I've been trying to let, you know, I got a couple. I love arbitrage houses. You know, you taught me the gold in that arbitraging the house. It's so dealing with a mom and pop owner instead of a apartment complex. Oh God, it's night and day difference. It's beautiful. And plus they're very profitable. And that was before we were really, really hip to the insurance game, you know. we got in at the right time on that, man. And,
Yeah.
and so we got these houses, and all of a sudden, oh wait, insurance companies pay how much? Kick these Airbnbers out of my freaking house right now. and so I've been setting up my new Grand Prairie house, and it's almost up, ready to roll. And I want to go heavy, of course, on midterm on that one. I don't want to mess with too much Airbnb. I might go ahead and get it certified just so I have that ability. But other than that, it's going to be a big midterm play. And another arbitrage got thrown at me, in Fort Worth, and it's just he kept sweetening the pot until I was finally like, man, that's a good deal. Give me a free month's rent, giving me not charging me all these fees that he kept bringing the price down and down. It's a beautiful unit. I have 3 units there already, this complex, and it's a beautiful unit in the beautiful complex, and I know at the price that they're giving it to me, right, a 2-bedroom 2-bath, that it'll make, because my other ones are 1-bedroom 1-bath, and they make pretty good money, and at the price that the rent is at, I know I can at least make what the 1-bedroom 1-bath makes. You know what I'm saying? And I know I have a friend in the complex, and she has a 2-2, and she says she kills it on the 2-2. So I have a love-hate relationship, but I just saw that it was a good opportunity, and I went ahead and grabbed it. But but the cool thing is there's so many people hopping out of the game that there's so much of this furniture that you can buy for very cheap or get it for free, right? And so like I might even go grab a whole 1 bedroom full of furniture, 1-bedroom 1-bath condo full of furniture tomorrow if this other people fall through, and I'll have I can get my whole place set up for dirt cheap, you know what I'm saying? Nice stuff. And so if you are looking to get into the arbitrage game, call me and Myka. We'll help you out. It's a good time because there's a lot of people hopping out. We're at a weird stage, right? There's this weird, economy. A lot of people hopping out, getting great deals on cheap ass furniture. I mean, decent furniture for cheap or free if you go pick it up, because you're solving a problem for these people that got to get rid of all this shit. And a lot of people that are investing in Dallas are out of staters. That's another big thing. So this girl right now, she's up in I don't freaking know, Seattle or something, but she has her arbitrage here, and she don't want to fly over here to deal with furniture. So she's pretty much going to give it away. And so if you find, and also there's good deals on arbitrages too, if it's in a good spot where it's legal and it's going to make some money. So it's like this perfect this little perfect storm going on of cheap to free furniture, and then arbitrages with rent prices dropping a little bit in this areas because they just want to fill these places up. And so it's a good time to dabble, to dip your toe in arbitrage. Now don't go do anything stupid, right? Don't pay
I will say I agree with you, because what you just said is, you said Fort Worth, and I think these towns around Dallas are about to be the biggest gold mine, because I mean, if Dallas is shutting down, where are people going to go? Just to the next city, just like they did Arlington. Now Grand Prairie is super hot, so I think it is, if you can get the right numbers, like you said, you analyze the numbers, you can get the right numbers, arbitrage will work for sure. But another thing I noticed you said too, because I went back and forth with this too. You're saying a few years ago when I was picking up arbitrage, I would stop, I pick them up. What made me stop doing that was having a business goal for my business, right? So once you have a business goal, that will help you decide and determine what units you're going to pick up. So write down a business goal, have your business goal out. Hey, we want to make this much money, or we want this many units that make this much money, or how whatever your business goal is, right? Because I want my money, because I know my end goal is to have X amount of units paid off, so I can just make on a monthly basis, no matter what happens. If I have a good month, a bad month, I cash flow $20,000 a month. But I know that's going to come from owning and managing. But I'm only counting the properties I own for that. So everything else is just cream on the pot. Cream is just cream. You know what I mean? It's just icing on the cake. So that's my goal. So once you start making goals like that, then you can start determining, okay, how am I going to attack this plan? You know what I'm saying? How am I going to attack this and get to this goal, get this goal completed? Because you don't want to just be picking up a unit here, and there's no strategy behind it, because that'll help you make those decisions, man. Because it's huge. It's hard making that decision, bro. Somebody put something in front of you, it's hard making that decision, or hard saying no.
Like they say, it's got to be a hell yes or it's a no, right?
Yeah. Basically,
not a halfway no.
Yeah, it just has to align. Just have it align with your goals, man. If it aligns with your goals, it's an easy decision.
And so, what I've been doing, and I told you with my business, I got Princess is handling all the short-term rental side, and I got Manu running all the mid-term rental side, right? I got different sections of the business, right? But they do work together, they'll work together as well. But and I got those blasting the emails, blasting the Zillows, blasting all these, every source you could do to get more clients. And I mean, we're just nonstop with that, and that's cool. That's something I'm really good at, but I recognize that there's no way I could keep doing it and then grow a business at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So I figured out a way to hand that off to somebody that can do it 24/7 nonstop and follow up and follow. Yeah, I remember back in the day, I could do it for like maybe a few days or a week, but then I just, oh man, life derails you.
Yeah, well.
You got to have a particular employee to do just that nonstop, right? And otherwise you're not going to grow. You can't. It's impossible, because life just keeps getting in the way. And I'm just trying to figure out, and I'm getting close, and a way to just automate everything, to have people in place to do it. And I've got the different, like I said, different sections of my business to do that. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's making me happy, because I'm just hammering out these processes to try to hand it to somebody to do, and they say if someone can do 80% as good of a job as you can, then it's worth handing off, right?
Yeah. So now, how are you creating your processes?
I'm using the freak out of Loom right now. I'll do the Looms. Looms is a great, man. I mean, you love Loom, right? You've been using Loom for a long time, right?
Yeah, I use it a little bit. I use it. Yeah, I use it a little bit.
And I've heard some great advice on how to use it. Don't worry so much about making mistakes, or he says, just hit record and go through your freaking day of what you do in a day of your work, right? And it might seem mundane, it might seem this and that, and a lot of things we say, there's no way I can hand this off because no one knows how to do it like me. But hit that record button and go through it. You can even talk. You don't have to talk, but you can talk on it and say, oh, this is what I did here. This, I went over here, check the prices in Price Labs. I went over here and check the prices in Hospitable. And, you're just talking through what you're doing in a regular day. Oh, I went up to Zillow and I hit up these messages, and this is the kind of house I'm looking for. And then it just gives you your daily workflow, where a VA can look at it and say, oh, okay, that's how he does it. And they might even be able to find ways to do it better than you, which is great. But then from that, I mean, Loom's gotten to the point where it writes out all the shit you say anyways. You know what I'm saying? It makes the title for you, and then it documents everything you say, instructions, all that stuff. I mean, you can go in there and tweak it, make it look nice and pretty and copyright and put, the different steps or whatever to help them out. But I mean, Loom, man, it's just been a game changer just to go in there. And also, it's crazy. We're working on that book, even sitting there writing out all the shit that we do, that helps too, because you're writing it out. Yeah. And because we have all this stuff just swimming around in our head, but once you start writing it out and you start seeing the processes on the paper or on the computer screen, whatever, and then you're like, oh, okay, I can improve it this way. I can put 1 through 10 here, and I can hand it off to a VA, and they can do it. You know what I'm saying? Dang. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I'm using a lot of Loom and sitting there and just writing out everything and typing out everything. It's a pain in the freaking ass to get it out of your head onto the computer screen.
Steve's a hipster, man. You could do, and I'm going to tell you the fastest way to do it. Use Loom, take all the copyright that Loom just said, put that shit in ChatGPT 4 and say, create a SOP. It'll do it in 10 seconds. That is like, we've been doing that. Like, I upgraded. I don't use Man, and also for anybody out there, if you have not used the paid version of ChatGPT, that shit is next level. Like, I mean, it gives you so much more detail, so much more output. So like anytime I'm in like a meeting, I've been doing it at work. My job's been like, dang man, you know how to do all this? I'm like, yeah, I've been doing it for a while. If you use like Loom, whatever it is to process what you're saying, put it in GPT-4, it will talk about, hey, this at this minute, we're talking about this. This is what we're talking about, how we go into depth on it. I've actually used ChatGPT to create. I went and had ChatGPT recreate all my SOPs. Matter of 3 seconds, it recreated all my SOPs, put them in a nice format, and I have it sitting next to any training file. So when they click the training file, they have the training file, what I'm talking about. And if they need to go and go over it, ChatGPT, version of ChatGPT in bulletproof format tells you how to do exactly what I just said on the video. And you can take it a step further. If you need like a diagram chart, because let's be real, people learn better off visual. So that's why video and pictures are the best way to learn. You can use ChatGPT to create flowcharts. So I'll be like, hey, create a flowchart in Plant UML, and I'll have this, it'll put a code in Plant UML, and I'll put that next to the training profile. I'm telling people now, the best way to like start handing your business off is use the power of AI. The power of AI right now is powerful. Like, it's a lot of powerful stuff because all these companies are investing in it. MailChimp's investing in it. Loom's investing in it. Zoom's investing in it. You know what I mean? So if you can start using all of these technologies as early as possible, like right now, it'll be really great time to be able to hand your business off, man. It's really helped me as well. Just be able to hand my business off, man. I'm telling you, just don't. I mean, putting things pen to paper works. But if you can do it in a very much faster, more precise way, it's huge, man. It's been a real good time saver for my business. And I have my VAs use ChatGPT, and their more professional responses on issues has been a really big plug. You know, but I have told them to like monitor what you say, make sure it's not too robotic. And, you know, but this one girl's working for me for a while. Shout out to Zyra. She's been working for me for a while. She does it in a really, really good, articulate way as well.
That sounds great, man. I need to dive into it more. But there's always good and bad. What are some of the drawbacks to ChatGPT? What are some of the negative
drawbacks? Is depending on how you're using it. I use it to create SOPs. The paid version, it ain't no drawbacks. It depends on what you're using it for, right? The more information you give it, the more precise it's going to be. If I already had all my procedures written out, but they weren't as organized as when I used ChatGPT. Especially on like stuff like that, you can just do like stuff where it'll take you 10 minutes to write it out. You can write it out in 5 minutes in a very quick, rough draft and let them finalize it for you. You know, it's just ChatGPT 4 is powerful. That's why I told you I was making those edits, because I've been using ChatGPT 4 and it's way more precise. So, you know, especially stuff like SOPs, man, it is on target, you know. And I think a lot of people's problems with ChatGPT is they might not know what exact prompts to put in there. I watch a lot of AI YouTube, and I go on a lot of the AI webinars on LinkedIn. It's a lot of powerful stuff out there, especially stuff that can be used in the short-term rental space. And shout out to our past guests. I know Bart and Mark Simpson both use it a lot in very different ways and things to really help your business. So yeah, definitely look into it.
Yeah, I need to, man. I guess I'm a little old school. I adopt technology a little slower than other people. But I mean, as long as you're doing something that's creating the SOPs to teach to others, to someone else, even if you don't even have any employees yet or VAs yet, you know, it's great to get all your processes down and in place already. So
you can hire them, you know what I mean? So this is a smooth transition, man, because that's one thing that isn't much talked about is business continuity, right? So if we have a VA quit, how do we continue our business? You know what I mean? I even have my VAs update our SOPs just in case they leave or we have somebody else come in. You know, how do we keep that business continuity? You know what I mean? Because when you're running a large enough portfolio, VAs are a requirement, right? You got to have a VA. Boom, boom, boom. If you lose a VA, that's like critical infrastructure, you might be screwed. You know what I mean? You might be screwed. So, that's my biggest part about it is business continuity.
Here's what brings me back to, full circle, what I was telling you about. So our lead manager, Princess, she's October 1st, yesterday, she officially took over the short-term side as her own, entity, her own company. I said, you can keep the VAs that are working for us now, or you can do whatever, but I want to pay one person. I'm gonna hire you, and you're gonna run my management side, my short-term rental operation, and it's my in-house management team, whatever. And so, like you said, what happens if you lose a VA, you lose someone? To me, it's like I put it on her now. If someone does quit on her, yes, she's gonna have to figure out a way to fill that gap, right? She's still running the show. She knows the business inside and out. So she's still going to run it no matter what. She might have to go without that employee for a while or do something. Whereas back in the day, I had to go start doing interviews, searching on Upworks or searching on the VA sites and try to find somebody. And then we got to interview them. Then we got to get them trained and all that stuff. I was like, I don't want to do any of that crap anymore. This is your baby, Princess. This is your baby. You're going to make it run. You know how to make it run. And if you got to do what you got to do in your business, hire, fire, train, you got to do all that stuff. I just want it to work. I want to say, hey, get me this real quick. Or what about this? Can you work on this? And I want it to be done.
Yeah.
So in-house management is what I'm shifting towards.
You got to have management. Got to. See, but what's your business? Do you have a business continuity plan if she leaves?
If she leaves. Now that's
what I mean.
Question.
That's what I mean by business continuity.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I'm in IT. So like our biggest thing is DR, which is disaster recovery, business continuity. If something drastic happens, can this business still keep going? You know what I mean? That's what I always kind of look at.
Yeah, so, I have a few nuclear options, but I do have it set up where, and that's where ChatGPT will come in handy for me too. But I have it set up where and I'll spill all the beans on the show. We always do anyways. But like how I could run it with a skeleton crew, until I did get management or hire enough people to get into place in the certain roles. First off, I would reach out to ex-employees that did know this. Well, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't fucking do that. I would make it a skeleton operation, heavy on the midterm, right? Where the more midterm bookings you have, the less employees you need. That's period. Because you don't need as many employees running a 24/7 operation if it's all midterm. Everything's locked up in midterm rentals, right? Yeah. So I would have a day shift or afternoon. I would, be helping on that. This is a nuclear option. If my whole management team just freaking left me, which could happen, you never know, right? I hope it doesn't happen, but if it did, I can run it and Manu, my assistant, he knows
That's what I was
about
say.
the operation. Yeah, no, don't worry. I'm training him up. I don't want it to happen, but
no. I was gonna say this. You already have one running short term, one running midterm, right?
Yeah.
So my job, I'm an engineer, and then we have a systems guy, but we have is two of them though, right? So if Myka's ever gone, if the person ahead of me is ever gone, Myka can back him up. Myka's ever gone, this person can back him up. It sounds like you probably need Princess and Manu to know how to do each other's jobs. So if anything, as we call it at work, if fit hits the shan, he can just back it up, boom, while you go get another employee to take over that manager position. Or go look at your VA role. Okay, who's she been hiring? Who's been here the longest and can take the lead? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why documentation is important too. Like, knowing who are your VAs, under her, you know what I mean? And that's what I mean, like business continuity, because I'm starting to write up like a disaster recovery for my business and then like a business continuity plan as well. And you can use ChatGPT for that and then like know all your employees, who knows what, and then just kind of bounce it back and forth and like just make it a well-oiled machine. That's what we got to do. We got to make these things well-oiled machines.
Right. And I do know what's all the employees because they were our employees.
There you go.
And then I said, these are good. They're gonna, if you want to keep them, they're gonna work under you. But I'm just gonna hire you to do this. job, I'm going to pay you this much. You're getting a nice bump in your salary, whatever. So that helps too. But like I said before on another show, someone in the Philippines, they can hire other Filipinos for cheaper than what we have to pay them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because they can Zelle them in their own way the money, and it don't get all that big half of the money chunk taken out from the exchange rates and fees on this side, fees on that side. So they can offer a lower, hourly. And then the people receiving the money will still receive about the same amount of money anyways, right?
Yeah.
So they have that advantage. And so I mean, I'm cutting costs. I'm keeping pretty much the whole team in place by doing this. And I'm, they're great at handling everything, dude.
Nice.
And so, and like you said, but contingency plan, what happens when this shit hits the fan? Yeah, most of us don't even think about that.
Yeah, it's one of the things we always have to, and that's why I like the SOP route, just having those SOPs in place, and then just being able to have that business continuity plan. If we lose like a major piece, how do we continue to go and continue to operate? And I think a lot of that comes with culture as well. We got to create cultures for our business. Like, hey, this is what we are. This is what we represent. And then it kind of flows all the way down, from the leadership all the way down, man. That's very important because, yeah, business continuity is huge, man. It'll, like, you got to really run this thing like a well-oiled business, right? I always think of, like, when I think of business continuity, like, I always go to Super Walmart and I look around. I'm like, ain't not one Walton in this bitch, but this thing is running. How do they set it up? You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. Like, how is this thing running? Because Walmart doesn't pay their employees crap, which we don't pay VAs crap, but
but it's a lot of money to them over there. So that's
it's a lot of money to them. Yeah, over there.
They're not paying Americans crap.
Yeah. So it's a lot of money to them, but you see it, you're like, dang, man, this is a well-oiled machine, right? If you go to like Chick-fil-A, it's a well-oiled machine, but with the Chick-fil-A franchise, the owner has to be there X amount of the time, right? Because they have to invest in it. So it's a little bit different. Because I was going to invest in a Chick-fil-A, but then I realized it's a 10-year commitment. I was like, oh, hell no. I ain't about to be up in the clock in 10 more years. But you have to always look at, like, how does this thing run without me? And that's a good way to look at it. And I like the business continuity. It's huge because it'll help you get there, But it looks like you already got the team in place. Because I'm kind of in the same situation. Do I need to? But I'm pretty sure my VA does hire other VAs in her country to do some of her work. No big deal to me because I do it too on Upwork and Fiverr. Everyone does it, right? So I think it is it's very important to have that plan in place and, like, put it on paper, like we always said, put that on paper. That may be even the LLT ebook is how to get a business continuity plan. So y'all be on the lookout for that.
Oh, nice. Write that down. Business continuity plan. Yeah, man, there's so much to it. It's this has been a great show. I'm glad we talked heavy on the business side about our everything, many anxiety attacks. It's how to cope with things in a healthy way, how to use ChatGPT to help out too, which I need to start diving into. But I guess the main thing, like I said, we keep going year after year. We keep sticking to this, and then you got to celebrate the successes along the way. We look at, like, what's going wrong most of the time, right? Because that's just how business people look at things. But a lot of shit went right to get us to this point, so that's pretty cool.
Right up. You have to be appreciative and grateful. Gratitude. That's why I might call that this episode gratitude. But no, I see. But yeah, it's a lot, man. We always do focus on things that are going bad. But the thing is, in business, you have to focus on the things that go bad in order to make it go right. Right. So it's just like I'm kind of, I'm a sports guy. I'm going to relate it to a sports thing, right? You have to look at what you have and your end goal in order to pick up what you need, right? So, for example, to me, the Milwaukee Bucks just made the dumbest trade they could have ever made. They got Damian Lillard, right? And everyone's like, oh, it's a good trade. It's a good trade. But I'm like, they gave up everything that got them their championship, right? They won a championship 3 years ago. They gave up everything. They gave up Drew Holiday. They gave up Grayson Allen. They gave up all the defensive perimeter pieces that Giannis needed to get there for a guard he's a great scorer, but he's not a defender. So I'm like, everyone's like, oh, it was a good trade. I'm like, to the naked eye, I'm like, you have to really do a deep analysis of what they just did. And then Drew Holiday, who's a really good piece, he ends up getting traded back to the East. He didn't even go to Portland, gets traded back to the East to the Celtics, which is the rival you struggled with. So it's like, come on, man. You went ass backwards on this trade. You always have to look and analyze. It's just like we just talked about earlier, man. You see that shiny thing and you're like, oh, I got to get it. But you're like, what are you giving up to get this? Is it fitting your business goal? If your goal is to win a championship, that wasn't a good trade. You should have traded Chris Middleton, then got Damian Lillard, because you don't need any more length and you don't need Chris Middleton scoring anymore. So you're gravy. So I need to be a damn GM. But no, but yeah, man, it's just in business, you have to look at it like that. And it's funny. I actually started looking at sports differently after I started my business, because I'm like, I start to understand the things that they're doing. To us, if you're looking at it from a fanatic fan standpoint, you're like, that was stupid. But you got to look at it from the other standpoint. Okay, what costs are they cutting? What's their end goal? Their end goal might not be a championship this year, but it's trying to, how do you build those pieces to get there? And I think Milwaukee just blew their shit up, messed up. But we'll see. I could be wrong.
Yeah, yeah. That's because it's funny with the NBA. It's always like a 3 or 4 team trade. It's never just a one team and one team. They always get a group of teams together and do some wheeling and dealing, right?
Yeah, Phoenix. I think Phoenix won that trade, but we'll see.
Yeah, see, the Mavericks would never do nothing that stupid, would they?
Mavericks don't make enough moves.
They blew up their whole team after they won the championship. Man, that was
old Mr. What's his name? Old Cuban.
The Cuban Missile. Oh man.
Oh man.
Anyway, so thank y'all. Yeah, the sports sports is business. Big sports is big business. So
straight up.
It's millions of dollars, billions of dollars. So anyways, so thank y'all for listening. This is more like a freestyle show. We're just getting a lot off our chest about the business side, and yeah, man, it's keep at it. If you need our help, hit us up. You know where to find us. And where can people find us, Myka?
Yeah. Hit us up. And by the way, if you are having like business struggles, me and Steve, we always have me, Mike, Federer. We can all sit back and go back and forth with each other. But definitely hit us up. Send us an email, info@liveletthrive.com. You can send us individual emails. Myka@liveletthrive.com, Steve@liveletthrive.com. But if you're having business struggles, send us an email. What's your struggle? Trust me, if we've probably more than likely have gone through it or going through it, and we can definitely shoot ideas back and forth, and it'll help everyone. So, you can find us there. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Thank y'all for continuing to being listeners. All the new listeners, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Follow, like, share. Thank y'all. We are out.
Peace.
Later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.